you say something about the process? Do you when you select something, because you find you can find 100 objects in a day if you want to look around, but you select certain things. Can you tell me anything about what makes you decide to
What usually happens is like I'll be out walking and something will catch my eye, and I'll either photograph it or I'll find something, and then usually once I've kind of done one, that nearly sets it off then, because I'm in that mode. It's like I've switched kind of like hyper aware of my surroundings, and then all of a sudden it's like I find everything kind of intriguing. And but with the objects are more selective. Like with this one, I was driving, like this wasn't actually up when I first put up the show, and I think I found it like day 2 of when the work is up, and I was actually driving, and I just caught the glimmer of light in it, and I like reversed and picked it up, and it was just like, I don't know, there's just something about it. But it's, I suppose, I really like kind of like the reflective objects in a way.
And where did you find this?
I found
it's metal, yeah?
It's metal, yeah. I found it near Skibbereen. There's something kind of like really vulnerable about it or something. The fact that it's just tarnished, and I don't know, it does, like the little curl and everything, it just seems like it's all in the right place, doesn't it? The fact that you could see yourself in it slightly, the little bits of mud in it. It's, you know, it's been affected by its environment. It has traces of its environment on it, and then you can see yourself in it. But then just as a whole, it's just, there's something that really like draws you in, and like you said, there's something like very aesthetically pleasing about it. I don't exactly know what, but that was just an image I put in. That was one of the first photographs that I took using the camera with multiple exposures. So you can see it's, that's actually the view from my window. So you can see,
the view from your window.
Yeah, so you can see the kind of the contrast between the kind of the wild and the urban. And it's literally exactly on a main road as well. So it's just like this kind of constant stream of traffic, which I feel like is kind of influencing it as well. And like this image just kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, being in a train and like watching the landscape changing and fluctuating before your eyes. But then you're kind of still, but everything around you is changing. And it's kind of like, I feel like with the multiple exposures, I'm really able to like capture that effect, kind of like the effect of like a spectator looking out, you know. And then just the layering of the glass and stuff as well, like the layering of the images, kind of one thing over the other, this kind of constant. Like,
it's really pleasing. I mean, it looks like a great view. Do you like living there?
I do. Yeah, I do. It's so, like, since I moved down to Skibbereen for that month and coming back here, the contrast is so big. And before I lived here as well, I lived in near Clarny, like in the middle of the country, like as in I could see Carrintoohil from my window. So it's like it's the most kind of central city I've ever lived, and the first time I've ever like lived on the main road. And I feel like sometimes I go with the pace of like the traffic, or I feel like I kind of have to go, you know, it's like, because there's always traffic moving, and it's like I feel like I'm nearly in that mode. And when I went to Skibbereen, I felt like I just started going like way slower, and like I was more like, you know, and it's like that's kind of been a new interest to me, like the kind of the pace, how you kind of match your pace with your surroundings, you know, sinking in with the time. But yeah, and so one of the writers I'm reading at the moment it's really interesting, Rebecca Solnit, and she talks about it's called River of Shadows, and she's writing about Muybridge, the person who, you know, took those pictures of the horse in motion, and but she's talking about like how when he was born, it was like just before the invention of the train and the telegraph and things like that. So she's saying how like he was born into a time when you were still in time with nature, and like the fastest that you could go was the speed of a horse, or the fastest you could get a message was like by pigeon. And she kind of she talks about like people being in flow with kind of like with the river of time, and then all of a sudden with the advance of technology, it just kind of speeds up that like all of a sudden you're kind of out, you're out speeding nature. And like that idea of the train, and you know, it's just like, and it's just getting faster now with like, you know, like it's faster technology, faster travel, faster, you know, messaging is instant, and it's just like, yeah. And I'm kind of trying to get that sense a little bit with the multiple exposures. I feel like I can kind of capture that speed, and then with just ordinary cameras, I feel like I'm able to kind of capture more of like to have them here, more of like a sense of presence, like those ones, you know. It's kind of like with these images, I feel like it's a real like presence in the world now, you know, whereas with the multiple exposures, it's more capturing that kind of idea of speed and change, and
things shifting at different speeds as well.
Exactly. And time and kind of like coalescing, kind of.
Could you go one back, because I can't remember seeing
I didn't actually, I didn't have these in the show, and yeah, so it's just, yes, I kind of put them in to put in that contrast. So I feel like I probably, going forward, I'll probably have a contrast of both more. But like, I was looking forward after Skibbereen to come back here, because it's kind of like, you know, there's such a kind of an energy, but at the same time, you can still sink into this kind of presence and this slowness yourself as well. And I suppose with the work, I'm kind of trying to invite people to do that a little bit as well. And with the tours, you know, it was kind of like inviting people to slow down and to look closer and to kind of see what you could see, you know.
That is true. That your work definitely invites that, to look at it really.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And this is this. I mean, to the left, is it water, or is it like a salmon, or is it like metal?
It's the it's the inside of a spotlight. So it's, and the sun is reflecting on it. So it's like a textured plastic, and then the sky, like that's the sun and that's the sky reflected in it.
Wow. It's
so
amazing, because it's something and it's something else, you know.
Yeah.
I never have guessed.
Yeah.
My first impression was like, you know how sometimes you can see if the water is just a little bit rippling a little bit, and then you get these, it breaks up the reflection. So I thought it was water, and then I thought, no, it's not that. It's a kind of, but it's not that, you know. And then it's plastic, and that's
exactly. Yeah, because it is, like, because I love photographing light on water as well, actually. So I often take those kind of photos on water. But yeah, the fact that it's something so kind of like banal or everyday, and that like, you wouldn't, like, you probably wouldn't notice, only that it's like the intent of like going closer.